Hi guys, my name is Alexandria Rose Sanchez, and today I will be delivering my persuasive speech. In America, we are founded on the idea of freedom. And if we are all granted the right to freedom, we should all be equal, right? Well, I'm here to tell you that unfortunately in America, we have been fed this false narrative of equality. All men are not created equal. I started to understand the concept of inequality while reading the ever so famous How to Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. Then furthering my knowledge on the phrase all men are created equal by looking into the Declaration of Independence written by Thomas Jefferson and how we molded the all men are created equal phrase to fit into today's standards. And also taking a look at all the negative effects that all men are created equal has had in all aspects of America, but specifically in education. At some point in your educational career, you have probably stumbled across the book How to Kill a Mockingbird by Harper Lee. If you haven't, it's basically about a family in Macomb, Alabama surviving the Great Depression. Now, it is in the South, and we know that the South is pretty much known for being racist, to put it bluntly, especially back during the Great Depression. Now, the family known as the Finches were pretty well off, better than most other people in their town, probably because their father, Atticus Finch, was a lawyer. And without getting into too much detail about the book, Atticus ends up defending Tom Robinson, a local black man who was wrongfully accused of raping a 19-year-old white woman. And towards the end of the trial, Atticus ends his closing argument by stating, "Gentlemen, need I not remind you that the eyes of the law, all men are created equal and all men are innocent until proven guilty." And you have probably heard very similar sayings or phrases in books, TV shows, movies. But the reason this quote really got me was because this book was written way back then. And the relevancy it holds even today is why it is so captivating and why it is taught in schools. Because Tom Robinson, the black man who was wrongfully accused during this point in the book, was already convicted. Not by the judge, but in the eyes of the jury. Not because he actually did the crime that he was accused of, but because of the color of his skin. And how can all men be created equal when the color of their skin defines their fate? Now, whether or not you've heard of How to Kill a Mockingbird, I'm sure you've heard of our Declaration of Independence, created by none other than Thomas Jefferson. But what you didn't know is that when Thomas Jefferson was writing the Declaration of Independence, and when he wrote down all men were created equal, he wasn't talking about individual rights. Instead, Thomas Jefferson was talking about we the people as a nation, that the nation, America, has the right to govern itself just like all other nations in the world. But throughout time, we have used this phrase, all men are created equal, to express the equality of America. But the fundamental principle of all men was never intended for individual rights. And if the framers would have intended this, they would have abolished slavery when they signed the Declaration of Independence. But we all know that slavery was not fully abolished in the Declaration of Independence. And we see inequality in more than just race. We see it in gender, in religion, and most importantly, we see it in schools. There are many aspects in America where all men are created equal has had a negative effect, but we will only talk about the core: education. Education and the way we learn and the way we are taught is always evolving. In the No Child Left Behind Act, although it sounds like a very helpful tool, it is actually very harmful, because instead of children now being focused on what they're actually learning and retrieving that information and keeping it within themselves, they are now more focused on getting a passing grade. It seems nice that no kids are left behind, but a legislation isn't solving any problems by creating a quote that teachers need to make yearly. Legislation cannot just put it on paper that classrooms need to be at this level when all kids have strengths and weaknesses. Instead, we need to do better by supporting our teachers and our students. In conclusion, although our country was founded on a set of principles, it will take a lot more than a document to contribute to the action of equality. Through generations, we have done little things to better a situation, but when we are basing it off a document that wasn't even intended for individual rights, we're doing something wrong. We must buckle up and educate ourselves, because being more aware of a situation will create productive conversation, and that's how change occurs. Thank you so much for listening, and have a wonderful night.